Okay, we can call the meeting to order. Madam, please call the roll.
Trustee Brewer.
Here.
Trustee Carter.
Here.
Trustee Grant. Trustee Tate. Trustee Todd. Here. Trustee Zupan. Here.
Okay, before we go into executive session, like for our finance director, Mr. Mohan Rao, would you please come up and kind of explain to the residents about the water bill?
Thank you, Mayor and the Board of Trustees. There were a couple problems when we processed the last bill for April and May. First of all, there was a major problem with the ITRON. The ITRON was downloaded, but it did not download the way it should have been. Like, for example, it should have been downloaded like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 means January, February, March, April. And when we ran the May bill, the ITRON should have brought the May underneath April, but it did not do so. It actually started from after November, in between November and December, it downloaded there. Therefore, we had to manually change that download into reflect to the month of May. That was one problem. And the second problem was the computer was turning on and off couple times that day when we printed the bill. That also caused the problem. The third problem, the rate information for the new rates, that should have been done in a fraction manner, like 0.125 for $1.25. But inadvertently, what we did was we input the figures as $1.25 to reflect the new billing rate change for the sewer system. So that caused triple the sewer rates and also the water rates. After noticing that problem, we immediately reprinted new bill reflecting the new changes. And by then, we were trying to reach the postmaster whether to stop the bill, the first bill, not to be delivered to the residents, but by then the damage has already been done and the postmaster had already dispatched all the old water bill to the residents. Many of the residents have gotten by then the old bill. Later the same day on Friday, we reprinted with new information with new bills, and that was mailed the following Monday morning. So that caused the problem. And of course, it was a human error also in addition to those three problems. I apologize for the residents as well as the mayor and the board. Moving forward, we'll make sure the bill is accurate. We will audit the bills before it is being mailed to the residents. That ends my report. If anybody have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer the questions.
Any board members have any questions?
Mr. Mohan, was the trustees notified that this error occurred?
No. Mike sent an email to village clerk, and that's about it.
So no notice went out to the residents that they really had a problem?
No, the residents got a new bill with new information stating that this is the revised bill, and it was not. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and the board.
I'll accept the motion to go into recess, discussing pending litigation. Need a motion? Moved by trustee Tate, second by trustee Grant. Any questions? Madam Clerk.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant? Yes. Trustee Carter? Yes. Trustee Tate? Trustee Todd? Yes. Trustee Zupan? Yes.
Motion carried. We'll be going into executive session. I'll accept the motion to reconvene. Okay, moved by trustee Todd, second by trustee Zupan. Okay, I did that back there too. Okay, second by trustee Brewer. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Carter? Yes. Trustee Grant? Yes. Trustee Tate? Yes. Trustee Todd? Yes. Trustee Zupan? Yes.
Motion's carried. We'll start with item number 5. Trustee Grant.
All right, so about a month ago, presented the board with a document for finance policies and procedures to look at. So we can kind of go over that. Any changes, recommendations, questions, this now's the time to go over
We
those.
can't hear you.
So any changes, questions, recommendations, now is the time we can go over that. Anybody want to start?
No, I have some questions. Well, some questions, that's some concern. After reviewing the document, it seems like to me this document has been written to take all the powers from the trustees. Mostly, all through the document, it says the mayor and his designee. I think that's something that is illegal, and it takes out most of the powers away from the trustees to make decisions about monies, and that's what we're here for. To go on different pages, you have a couple positions in here that hasn't been approved by the board. I don't know where. If you're gonna call a budget officer, are we gonna hire one, and where are we gonna get the money to pay for one? And the budget officer's duties seems like to me includes a lot of what the trustees are supposed to be doing by law. And a lot of these things are done by the mayor without the consent of the board. So since Sauk Village is not home rule, I don't think this document could stand on itself, or maybe I'm just getting the impression from the way it's written that it should be, should say mayor with advice and consent of the board. All through the document it says, so maybe you could clear up that for me. And I got a couple other questions too.
Okay. So the document, it's still going to go through the board's approval like we've always done. There's not taking any authority and giving it to the mayor. That's why we have a board. So therefore, anything that's in here, it'll always be presented to the board before our approval. So that nothing changes there. As far as a budget officer, no, that's not a created position. The mayor has a budget officer who puts together the budget, and that would be the treasurer. So therefore, there is no position being created. Is there? She's already doing that position. So there's no extra money being spent there. And I think that you had another concern about. What was your last concern you said?
Well, throughout the document, you have the mayor and his designee. It doesn't say anything about the advice and consent of the trustees in there. I mean, one or two places that I see, but majority of places it says mayor and his designee. And in fact, I could think of one page. 11 and 12 is clearly states the mayor or his or her designee. I don't think that's where it should be presented to us. And another thing that I noticed on page 13 is that the village treasurer has been granted the authority to establish funds, to establish a fund level without the advice and consent of the board. Now, if she wants, the treasurer is establishing all the fund levels, I don't see what the trustees come in at.
So again, no matter what happens, everything comes before the board, no matter what happens. So however, if you want, I can add that word in there with the advice and consent of the board, if that's what you want. That's not a problem.
Okay.
And as far as the mayor and his designee, the reason why it was written as his designee or budget officer. So for example, if he changes that, I didn't want to just say treasurer, because I mean, what if it's not the treasurer in 2 years or 3 years? So I kept it general, but that's why we just named it his or her designee or the budget officer. So if there's a problem about the wording, we could talk to the mayor and see what he says, but I think it's fine if we leave it as that. Does anybody else think that that's a problem with the wording of?
It's a problem because the way it's written, it says the mayor and the designee. If a person comes in and looks at it, it doesn't say anything about trustees. You have to put in there with the advice and consent of the trustees. That's a legal document.
I agree.
So I mean, you just can't leave it like that. And then on page 13, you give the treasurer autonomy to establish a level of without the advice and consent of the board. The trustee shouldn't be able, the treasurer shouldn't be able to come in and say, well, we're going to spend this much, whatever. She needs to come and talk to the trustees and see if we're able to, do whatever she wants to be done. She has to state her case just like everybody else. I understand she might have a little bit more financial knowledge than us, but still she needs to present it to us so we could make an informed decision.
Agreed.
Okay.
And again, everything comes before the board still. Nothing changes as far as how the process goes.
Well, you keep saying nothing's changed, but that's just not what the document reads. The document reads the mayor and his designee. It needs to say the mayor with the advice and consent of the board of trustees.
Okay.
That's in any document here in the village. Let me see.
I think it depends on what page and what section you're talking about. Otherwise, you're talking about micromanaging versus day-to-day operation of the village. Trustee, I've got a slew of comments on this, and I don't know if you want to go through page by page or not. I've got some themes, and I've got some specifics on individual pages that it might be more worthwhile for you and I to sit down and go through them.
Okay. And also, you have mentioned in there a village utility billing supervisor. That's something new. And also, you mentioned in here financial department clerk. Is that a new position? And these are salaries that we haven't even talked about. It seems to me this document is very well written, but it sort of knocks out the trustees.
No.
This is my opinion. I understand what you're trying to write, but it seems like every place you got the mayor and his designee should be mayor with the advice and consent of the board. And also the treasurer shouldn't have the authority to do anything without the advice and consent of the board. That's the bottom line. And I got I got a list of questions that I can give them to you.
Okay.
Where residents have sent to me and asked me what this is. But we can't take this document on face value without saying the advice and consent of the board. We have the authority over money.
Okay, noted.
I'm sorry, I have a question. How did the residents get this? It's still a document under review.
How are we supposed to know?
Yeah.
Well, neither do I, but they got it, they ask questions. These people are savvy, they don't, they just don't come up with stuff. They have to have some kind of documents to it.
Any other questions in regards to, okay.
On page 9, you have the footnotes where you're going, Is this, what you're listed here, A through G,
Mhm.
will that be on the website?
Yes, that will be on the website under the, we'll have a committee page, and those will be listed there.
So the residents can see this as
Absolutely.
well?
Absolutely.
On page 8, Roger, you said, it says something about property taxes. She told me to say, property
Who
taxes
is
should
she?
never be, the resident told me to say, property taxes should never be used as collateral for repayment of alternate or general obligation bonds or any other alternate method of financing. It seems like to me, she was explaining to me that under debt insurances on page 8, that we're committing property taxes to use as collateral to repay these different obligations that we have on page 8. So that was one of her concerns. You see under 2, debt insurances? Okay.
Wait, so what state your concern again? What?
She's saying that,
Right, I don't see that.
I'm just saying what she stated now.
But what about-
Property taxes should never be used as collateral for the repayment of alternate bonds. This particular suggestion must be talking about paying back bonds. And she's saying that, considering the, what we've been going through lately, that property taxes should be used as collateral for bonds, any bonds that we have mentioned in this particular document. And the way she was understanding is that we were using property taxes to pay off bonds.
You are.
Okay. Well, she's stating that they shouldn't, the property taxes shouldn't be used as collateral.
When you have a bond, and you're not, when you have a bond, you're not able to pay that bond back. That's what is insured by the residents, the taxpayers. So you levy because you don't have the ability to pay it back. That's why they write bonds, because they know they can get their money back by levying the residents. So when you get levied, well, when it's levied, every time it's levied, that's what it is levied for, to pay bonds back that the village is not able to pay. So yes, that's been going on since bonds ever existed.
Well, I think what her concern was, we need to stop doing it.
Well, we got almost $30 million in bonds. We can't
Well,
stop
I mean,
now.
When somebody sends you a question, you know, I'm just
I'm
presenting questions.
I'm trying to explain to
I'm
you.
talking to Bev's, trustee Zupan, she's asking me
Trustee,
something.
you making a statement. I was trying to correct your statement.
You don't have to correct my
But you
statement.
can't make a
I'm saying
false
what
statement.
wait a minute. We're
You
not gonna
can't make a
start this
false
today. I'm not making a
what?
start statement. I'm repeating what a
Okay,
resident
I'm
told
trying to
me.
explain to
And
you
you
what is
explain it to
right.
her to be on record, she can hear it, okay?
I'm just explaining
So
to you
I'm
what
not
a
saying
bond
anything false.
is,
I'm repeating what
trustee.
she said.
Trustee,
And
I'm
then
trying to explain
Zupan
to you
has
what
said
a
this,
bond is and how the
And
bonds are
trustee
paid back.
Zupan is jumping in with, something I don't even know what she's talking about, so anyway.
But you want everybody else to respect you, or you gonna talk that way?
Well, wait a minute, you respect me,
the way you're talking,
we gonna go through
trustee.
this today?
I'm not.
Well, then I was talking to Brent anyway, why are you interjecting?
Because you're making a false statement.
I'm reading what the
and
president
it's a
talked
false
to me. If you want to
statement.
correct her statement, you can say
It's
she's
not
making,
correct
I'm
my
not making
statement, trustee.
anything.
It's not correct my statement.
Anyway,
It's a
let's
false.
go move on,
You're
Mr.
not, first of all, you don't run nothing.
I'm not trying to run
Okay,
anything,
so
and it's
all I'm
apparently
saying
you're
is-
not either. You just
but
want to
you
sit here and
can-
argue with me.
You cannot make, if you're making a false statement, yes, I'm gonna correct you.
Okay, but anyway, the next section of trustee Grant is that I got a question from a resident that says that once the treasurer wants to, well, I don't think this is treasurer, but she said funds should never be commingled. The commingled funds are lost in investments. It would put the village in dire strait. What she was talking about is that the treasurer wanted to take different funds and invest them. And she didn't think that was a good idea to invest different funds in a single portfolio. So she didn't think that was a good idea. Comment. Page 42. And then on page 51, she wanted to know who is the village designated custodian?
Okay, trustee, can you send me these questions?
Yeah, there's quite a few of them. Well, can you answer this one? Who is authorized to use a credit card? And do we have an ordinance that establishes who can use those credit cards?
Do we have an ordinance?
I mean, has an ordinance been established to use who can
I
notify those?
don't believe there's an ordinance of who has a credit, who can use one. I know who has one.
So who has a credit card? Who's authorized to use it?
Who's authorized to use a credit card?
Yeah,
Department heads and the mayor, I believe.
department heads and who?
And the mayor.
Heads.
And not all department heads either.
Okay, and the mayor. So no employee or anything like that?
No.
Okay. We don't have a page 51, a village custodian?
No, the village custodian.
Securities, no, because we don't currently have quote-unquote securities.
Okay, Council, Ms. Trustee Zupan, I'm talking to Trustee Grant. There you go. Page 26, she wants to know who is responsible for the review of a useful life of items E. I don't know what that is. Page 26.
That would be the finance department, along with the department heads.
The finance department?
Along with the department heads.
Finance department.
Sure.
I think her concern was that, whatever's on page 26, it relates to building and improvements, water, sewer, and storm water infrastructure. And these are things we talk about the useful life for these different items. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. And she was concerned that whoever put the finance director over these things, but it actually should be something like Kevin, and then finance department comes in with the money, you know what I'm saying, we could do that. Is that what, you know what I mean? But that's not how she read it, but you understand what I mean?
Correct. So the department heads are responsible for depreciation, but along with the help of the finance department, ultimately.
Oh, okay, so in other words, they come into the finance department, and then they'll ask them, you know, how much money we need to fix whatever, right?
To fix? No, this is about depreciation as far as how assets depreciate and whether it's building, water.
Yeah, it says the ordinance should not exceed grant 38. What happens? Oh, okay. I mean, one of her concerns is that when we get CDBG funds, it's usually coupled with MFT funds in order to get a project done. So she was objecting to, well, the resident, and I'm objecting to that too, that these funds shouldn't be put together because when it comes to the street and roads of the village itself, all the money has been used for a specific grant in the CDB block grant. So she's not in favor, well, they are not in favor, I shouldn't say it was a group of people. They're not in favor of putting the monies together in order to get a project done. So that's what she got out of page 38. So it's noted in here on page 38, item A, that these
That's strictly MFT.
right, it's MFT, but she noted that they shouldn't be mingled together.
Is she just making a statement, or is she saying that's what it says?
Well, she's just a statement. I'm making a statement. So a lot of these are just statements from people that were, you know, why is this there? Why is that there?
Okay.
You know, because we have past practices. What we've been doing is putting the two funds together, to get a project done, instead of using the MFT money for what it's intended to. So she wanted to put an objection to that. And I'll send you the rest of the questions, because they basically, you know, something to get.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I have one other thing.
Sure, sure.
On page 11, do we have an ethics officer?
An ethical officer?
Ethics officer. So you have the code of ethics? Do you have it?
I don't think we have a per se ethics officer title, but that would be HR.
It's HR?
Anybody else? Okay, any questions? Just send them to me. We can make the changes, and I'll bring them back to the next committee meeting so we can go over it again, and we'll proceed from there. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next item, Economic Director, Mr. Joseph Lizawati.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, as you know, we're in the process of selling the old laundromat and dry cleaner. As part of the request for proposals, the village board approved, in addition to that, was a Class 8. You guys speak up. Was a Class 8 classification through Cook County. What a Class 8 does, essentially, is over the course of a 12-year period, it reduces the property's assessed value to 10% of the actual market value. On commercial property, it is at 25%, so it's a significant reduction in the actual assessed value. This is actually one of the common tools used in Cook County to compete with Will County and also with the state of Indiana. The current laundromat, and I'm going to pass that out also to you guys. This is what the current laundromat looks like. That's what it currently looks like. I've given you a copy of the resolution, which is the village board consenting to the Class 8. I've also handed out a copy of the Class 8 eligibility bulletin that goes over the detail of how the Class 8 would work. But essentially, for the first 10 years, that assessment is reduced to 10% of the market value. After that, the next year, year 11, it goes up to 15%. Year 12 goes up to 20%, and then in year 13, it goes up to 25%. So it's kind of, and it can be renewed as well. So if the developer wants to renew and extend that Class 8 classification, then they can do that by making a request to the village board and then having that resolution renewed as well. So I've also passed out the an additional exhibit which kind of indicates where this property is located. If you're familiar with Sauk Trail and Prairie Avenue, if you kept going straight, you would run right into it. So it's pretty much where it's been. It's been a vacant building for many years now. It went up for tax sale. The village picked it up on a scavenger sale. Last year, we acquired the property since the owner did not redeem their taxes. So the village has clear title to the property. And the sales price of the building was at $40,000, which was over the actual appraised value that we received. I did a pro forma for you as well, so you can take a look at the numbers as to where they're going to be coming in. So if they did nothing and they just took occupancy of the building, their total tax bill for the one half would be $17,800 a year, and the other half would be $11,800 a year. So you're looking at roughly about $39,000 in property taxes for that building. With the Class 8, that greatly reduces the overall property tax burden down to about $11,800 a year. So what is hoped is that the developer will actually invest the money into the project. So that's kind of what we put together with the buyer, which is Tony Abazir. Tony currently owns or doesn't own it, but he actually has the store up on Sauk Trail. He's been doing that for a number of years. He just sold his property in Chicago Heights, so he's actually in a more liquid position. So he did put together a. So he did put together just an idea of what his concept will look like when it's complete. His initial proposal is to currently keep it as a laundromat cleaners, but that's not been solidified. We did have a discussion. He is going to be raising the brick portion of that to the top of the windows, replacing the whole facade of the building, replacing the roof, the HVAC, the internal plumbing, basically investing well over $100,000 into that project. In addition, he'll be replacing the sidewalk and the driveway parking lot area. So he'll be doing a lot of improvements to that property. We anticipate, once the board does approve the resolution, getting this to closing probably next week, Friday, and I don't want to say that because I don't want to jinx me, but that's our plan as of right now. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Is the top one the laundromat or the middle one? I mean, the second one, because they both say laundromat. It's 1717 Sauk Trail.
Right, okay, so there's two different PIN numbers. There's 27 and 26. So the top one is 27 and the middle one is 26. So there's two separate property identification numbers. And in the resolution, it states both of those pins would be included in that. So right now, the village, just so you folks are aware, the village is currently receiving 0 property tax revenue because the village owns the property. The village is a tax-exempt entity, so no property taxes are being generated off the property right now. Once this closes, that would definitely change.
Is this in the TIF though, that the property taxes would go into the TIF and not to the village directly?
That is correct. So that money will go into TIF 4. So all of the property tax increment will end up going into TIF number 4. So the village still would have the ability to use those TIF funds for development within that TIF or TIF 2 or TIF 3 because they are contiguous.
Any other questions? So, Madam Clerk, you want this on the agenda for next week?
Yes, I am requesting that be put on the agenda for the board approval as well as the resolution, which kind of codifies what the village board's already taken action on. Passing that out with respect to this property and also for the property on the northwest corner of 394 and Sauk Trail as well. So if you guys would please, I don't know we're not going to discuss these tonight, but if you would please take a look at those resolutions. Those are just for the sale of the property, so if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me during the week. Thank you.
Real quick comment, the first resolution we passed out,
And the last two you just passed out was, no, but you have a week to look at them. One of them is for the sale of the gas and wash property, for the sale of the property, not the gas wash. And that's one of them. And the other one is actually for the sale of the cleaners.
It just codifies what the village board's actions are.
Well, right, you've taken action on it, it's just, you have to have a resolution. And if there's any questions between now and then, I'm sure we can get them to myself or to the Economic Development Director so we can make sure that those questions are answered. So that we put on, because we're looking to try to close on both of these properties soon, hopefully within the next week. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I must advise that we are definitely in violation of the Open Meetings Act because these resolutions were not on the agenda. There was an opportunity for any and everything to be on the agenda if it's that important and it's time sensitive. I sent an email out to each trustee as well as Director Wizabody on Wednesday asking for agenda items. They didn't have any. But at 5 minutes to 12, which is the time that I usually put out the trustees' information, I get a notice to put this one resolution on. So then I asked Director Wizabody, where are the supporting documents, which we are accustomed to providing the trustees so that they can present ready for discussion. I was told at that point in time that it's illegal and that it can't be shared. But then Director Wizabody coming here with all of this paper, all of this relative to it. And I just don't think that his willingness on a weekly basis to exclude the processes that we put in place so that our trustees can be prepared when they come to meetings, he repeatedly does not follow the process. And I've been quiet about it, but now with these other resolutions that's being brought forward that's not on the agenda, I'm going to repeat, we're in violation of the Open Meetings Act because they're not on the agenda. It would have been proper, possibly had you known, that at the very beginning of this meeting, we could have asked that they be on the agenda. And, you know, I just think it's something that we have to take into consideration if we definitely want to do things decently and in order. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to reiterate that the two ordinances, now the one that we just got for the laundromat and the cleaners, that was for a Class 8 that was on the agenda. The other two I just found out today that there has to be resolutions that have to be looked at by the trustee and then also voted on. Just found that out from the lawyers today. All I did was ask to have that resolution disseminated to the lawyers, to the trustees. If they have any questions, because I'm trying to, hopefully that we can close on this. I don't want to hold up anything. I don't want to give the people that are trying to buy this land any reason to delay it anymore. And this will delay it because now the closing, if you want to wait another week, then it'll be 2 weeks. Because that's when we have our meetings. That's why I just had it disseminated. I just wanted the resolution disseminated to the trustees. If they have any questions, I mean, we already have the ability to sell the land. We put that in ordinance a long time ago. This is basically a resolution that was told to us just today that we have to have in order to close. Just wanted the trustees to look at it, to ask questions, and to, if they have any questions, to bring them back, and hopefully we can answer them and get them taken care of. Now, I'll ask the board, if the board wants to delay this last 2 items, which is the purchase of the sale of the land for the acreage that's on the other side of 394. If that's the pleasure of the board to wait for another 2 weeks, I have no problem. We're not discussing that. It's not on the name because we're not actually discussing anything that's not on the agenda. These were just passed out for them to look at. If the board would like to have another meeting to discuss this, and I have no problem with that, I can let the buyers know that we have to wait until the board has another meeting to put this on an agenda and discuss it at that time, but it's anything that's new, but I'll ask the board again, if they would like to wait and have another meeting to discuss the last 2 resolutions that you just received today, I have no problem with that.
Can I ask a question about them, please? So the first one relates to the sale of the properties that we just talked about, the 2 pins that are the old laundromat on Sauk Trail. And I see Exhibit A that talks to the 2 pins specifically, and the language of the resolution appears to speak to that specifically. So we've got 2 resolutions you're asking us to vote on next week relative to that property and those 2 pins. The other resolution, which I believe relates to the property on the northwest side of 394 and Sauk Trail, in glancing at your resolution real quickly, I see that there's a reference again to surplus real estate set forth in Exhibit A. There's no Exhibit A attached here, so I'm not sure if that's a typo within the resolution or forgot to include the Exhibit A.
Hold on just 1 second. We cannot discuss the last 2. It was not on the agenda. That's why I just passed them out and for have the trustees to look at it. But we cannot discuss the last 2 that were just passed out. That's the actual sale of the 2 parcels. One of them being 1717, the other one being 1712, and then the other parcel, which is on the other side of 394. We cannot discuss this right now. That's why I was just asked to have it passed out, to have it equated. The closing, so to have a meeting to discuss this, it has to go on an agenda, and if that's what you want to do. So that's what I'm asking to give me a consensus at this time to delay and have it at the next committee meeting, which will be 2 weeks from today.
Mr. Mayor, we have to delay this because we don't want to violate the Open Meetings Act, and we have to have a frank discussion on these 2 particular items. So I know it's going to delay, but we want to be more cautious than.
So you voted for delay?
Yes.
Okay, trustee, a consensus, trustee Zupan.
I'm going to suggest we have a meeting on Friday and that the clerk issue the agenda so that we can have an open meeting to discuss the 2 items.
So you want
on Friday.
You want to have a meeting Friday?
Sure do, because we need to vote on this Tuesday.
Okay, does anyone
So that we're not
else?
so that we have our 48-hour notification on the agenda, so that we're not in violation.
Trustee,
I agree with the special meeting on Friday.
trustee Tate. Trustee Carter. So we will have a meeting Friday at 7 o'clock. Special meeting, 7 o'clock Friday. And at that time, we'll discuss the last two resolutions that were just passed out.
Thank you.
Next item, trustee Bernice Brewer, from Public Services.
One of the issues that, I'm sorry. We have been given a chance to address the public service, items, and the first one that we took up was the, payment of the Republic garbage, and, second one was the water, rates. But public service, and this is part one, what you're looking at, and I didn't get any questions or comments, so are there any questions or comments?
When did you pass this out?
The last time, May 8th,
This says June 5th.
well, everybody got a copy of the board on May 8th, 2018. Everybody got a copy except for Carter.
I remember getting these spreadsheets, I don't remember getting this.
Right, that's what I was saying, this is June 5th, this particular one. You did pass something out before that had something else on it, but this wasn't on it. That's why I was asking you, when did you pass
May
it?
8th.
Did anyone get on May 8th, this
Not,
particular?
not this one.
Did you get this?
That's the same.
Is that the same
May
thing?
8th, yeah.
She passed it out in the board
Is it the same as this one?
I don't know.
It's the same thing.
This is what I got.
No, I'm talking about, do you have both?
No.
Both.
Well, I have this, and then this is part one. So I don't, this is all I have.
Okay.
All I gave was part one.
Okay.
The part one has 3 sheets to it and 2 spreadsheets. That's part one. Part two is the water rates, and we'll get that later. I'm only gonna address part one. Part one is the, public service relating to, garbage fees. And this was, given to the board for review and questions and comments for this week, and nobody gave me any questions and comments, so do you have any now?
I have a question. You want me to have the mic? Is it in the contract that you cannot separate the two?
Yes.
You know, because at one time, I know there was an administrative fee that was being charged by the village because they were doing the billing. But once that was taken away, we cannot, per our contract, is that correct? You cannot separate the two?
We are their agent to collect. We cannot, we are bound by the contract to collect their garbage bill.
With no money? Like, we don't get?
No, we don't
nothing?
get any type of stipend or anything for that, no.
Okay.
The way I understand, to clarify, is that we are their agent and we collect their money, but there's no reason to separate, that we can't separate the bill. We get charged, and this is one of the recommendations for the separation of the garbage from the water bill. Even though we collect the monies on odd or even months, then we always hold the money until it's due. There's no reason why we had to combine the bills at the same time and send the billing out.
So you want to send out 2 separate bills?
Yeah, what do you think they're gonna say? You're gonna have twice the paper, twice the postage.
Trustee Dupont, I am not finished with my report.
You asked for questions. You asked for questions, trustee.
Okay, nobody said anything when I asked for that. So I'm going on to the report. So anyway, it was recommended that we separated the garbage from the water. And I talked to you about this, Mr. Mayor, some time ago, and you said, oh, that was a good idea. But as we go through, we were thinking about drafting up a series of ordinances that will combine the collections and the garbage bill along with the water bill. There are ordinances that we could put out there where we would address late fees, collections, and all that sort of items. But we can, like, for instance, bill the residents on odd months for 2 months, on odd months for 2 months, and do the water bill on the second month on even months. And see, that would reduce the financial burdens of the residents when they get their bill. Because as we went out through the neighborhood, they said, well, parent trying to pay everything at one time is a little bit too much. So they said if we could do, like, January, you know, the south side, and then maybe February we do the north side, you know, as long as they get separate bills. Another thing that happened was that Republic is collecting 2 cents per bill for a compliance fee. I don't know why they're getting that. It's not in the contract.
Excuse us, sir. Sir,
They don't want you to talk while they talk, they need silence.
well, we have a meeting up here.
Yeah.
So the Republic is collecting compliance fee from us at 2 cents per residence. I don't know why it's in the contract. They're supposed to be in compliance with the law, but they're actually charging us for it. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't have that money recouped back for us. The third thing that we looked at is the use account. Now, that was a difficult thing to get because the numbers you gave me didn't correspond with what we actually billed them for. What's going on is every month, Republic gets a list of abandoned properties from the village. They get the list and they don't reconcile it, nor do we. So whatever Republic sends in is what we pay. There's no reconciliation whatsoever with the bill. So therefore it left for overpayment. And Republic, we overpaid Republican by $22,000. This is just from the period November to September 2016. That's only because we don't have the personnel, or we never did reconcile the bill. And the reason I know that because there was no bill that I found that had adjustment to anything. We never adjust any of those bills, but they just get the number of houses, people move out, nothing's ever done to the bill. Whatever Republic sends here is what we pay. And that's not the way it should be. We should also consider changing the billing cycle from when Republic starts their billing cycle in October, and we should start our billing cycles to keep abreast of what they're doing at the same time. And the biggest thing is that reconciliations, there's absolutely none being done. Republican sends in a bill, we pay them whatever they send in. There's no way we have 2,695 houses every month they bill us for. And that's something that's wrong with that. I get the invoices that I was allowed to have, and every one of them says 2,695 houses. That's an impossibility. Now, eventually, if you go back to the one where it starts, the spreadsheet where it starts from November 2015 to September 2016, you'll see the difference in the amounts. And those are the numbers that I got from before for you. That you notice it says user bill. Some months it says 1,600 houses, other houses it has like 1,022. There's no place in the invoices that I got from Sauk Village that said we had 2,695 houses at any time during any month. But yet, Republic sends the invoice in, we don't reconcile it, we send the vacant list to them, and they don't reconcile it. So therefore, it's an overpayment there. So somebody needs to reconcile with those bills, and because we're losing a lot of money doing this kind of billing process with the Republic. We need to look at it every month when they send us a bill in and say, well, oh, you need to take out, 200 or 300 houses or something. So, unless we have some people to reconcile this particular issue, we're gonna always overpay them, and we're gonna run into money that they owe us. Because the whole premise was to find out why we owe them that $389,000, which I couldn't find because I couldn't get the invoices. But right now, from 2015 to the present, I was able to get some invoices, and they actually owe us $22,000. So you got any questions?
Yes, I have a few.
Okay, come on.
On your statement that you have here, it says number of users.
Which one are you looking at?
I don't know what page this is, but it says November 2015.
Yes.
Number of users,
Okay.
1,725.
Those are the numbers that you gave me, but they didn't correspond with the amount of money that we sent to Republic, so I knew the number was wrong.
I didn't give you this. I mean,
You
this
gave me a
is-
whole list of stuff,
I
March
didn't, I mean,
18.
you got, I don't make up the, water bill.
Okay,
So,
Mayor,
I
you
don't
gave me
know.
a list of numbers, March of 2018,
I
that
got
shows
it
the number
from,
of
I got it
users.
from the,
Well, I'm just saying, this is where I got that information
okay,
from, and
well,
those
I
numbers
just
were
gave you what
wrong.
was given to me.
Okay, well, I couldn't use them. So what I actually did was got
Well,
the.
where did you get 2,000, what'd you say? 2,000, well, where'd you get 2,000?
Well, I got that from the actual invoice, from
No, I mean,
what Republic
where is
says.
that number at in here that you got 2,000?
2,695 houses. That's on every Republic invoice that's ever been sent in here.
Oh, okay, I see, user
Mm-hmm.
bill. Now, and as far as the second part that you said that we don't do any reconciliation,
Yes,
every 2 to 3 months, we go over to make sure that what we're getting billed for is correct.
well, I didn't find, if we do that, I
We
was
do
getting-
do that. That happens, like I said,
If
every
it
2 or
was-
3 months.
Okay, if it was done, I was.
It's
wasn't-
been done it's been done. The reason why we had a discrepancy is because I think it was 2015 that the rates weren't raised at that time, and we owed more money, and the rate wasn't implemented. The increase wasn't implemented, and that's when they came up with a new contract. At that time, that was in 2015. And they asked to have we owed them close to almost $400,000. Excuse me, we owed them close to $400,000. And in order to reconcile that, they came up with a new contract. I don't know, it was talked about here at the board meetings, and yes, I was against it, but, you know, it happened, it was voted on. And in that contract, it states that there's no separation. So if you're trying to separate the water billing from the Republic, you still have to pay them to collect. In other words, you have to collect their money for them. They're not going to collect it. That's in the contract. Now, the second thing you're talking about is having 2 different bills. So you're going to have a water bill this month, then a garbage bill next month, and then a water bill the following month, and then a garbage bill, and that's in each and every aspect of the village. Right now, we have water and garbage on the north side for that month, and then the following month is on the south side. But you're looking to do this each and every month. 1 month you collect water, 1 month you collect garbage. Is that that's what I'm understanding you're saying?
To clarify some things that you said, the 2,695 houses are from the invoices that Republic has sent us. Every month they charge the same thing. Now, it was recommended by the people that I got together with that the water bill and the garbage bill be separated because of the financial burden that's on the residents because of the 2 large bills at the same time.
That's what I asked. Do you want a separate bill each and every month?
And if I'm not mistaken, it only cost us 50 cents before to print a bill each month. And they found that it would be more it could eliminate some of the burdens of cutting people's water off, collection agencies, because they would have, give them some kind of relief each month for paying for paying the large bill at one time, all at one time. So, and another factor is that whenever a resident comes in and they don't pay, or they're late paying or something like that, that money never goes to Republic. We maintain that money here. So therefore, we get paid some kind of money. We get close to 20 or 30,000 from people who don't pay their gas, their garbage and water bill. According to Mohan, I don't have statistics for that. But whoever comes in and pays late, or they on a payment plan, that money never goes to the garbage company anyway. So we recouping our funds.
My question still is, do you want, if that's what you're asking, whoever this person is, you or whoever it is, asking this question, is that what they're telling you, that they want the garbage bill 1 month and the water bill the next month? Is that what you're asking?
This is only a recommendation, and it has to be, considered by the board. If there's something they don't want to do, that's fine. This is only their recommendation.
Is that their recommendation?
Yes,
Okay.
that's their recommendation.
That's all I ask, because
Okay.
the reason why I'm asking that question, how would it change? Because the water bill would still be every other month, and you would still be charged every
Because
month.
the extra money that you're paying for the gas, for the garbage, they won't have to pay. They can pay it on the next month.
No, but they're gonna pay every month now.
They won't be paying 2 large bills at one time. They'll have a smaller bill, then they have a larger bill, smaller bill,
Okay,
then they have a
I'm
larger
just,
bill.
because I don't see how it's gonna alleviate the water. The water right now is being charged every 2 months.
Okay, well.
And the gas, and the, got me saying the gas, and the,
Yeah, we got gas.
garbage bill is being charged every 2 months.
But
And the garbage rate goes up. The water bill has not gone up. The garbage rate goes up, and will continue to go up 3% for the next 13 years. There's no way to get off for money for that. That's a contract. And if we try to get off for money for that, it's gonna cost us, right now, it's close to $350,000 that we have to pay to get off for money for that contract and still move forward.
So if you.
Where is that money coming from? I don't know. But I'm just saying, if that's what you have, they said, or whoever it is that you talked to, said that they would like to have the garbage bill separate of the water bill. In other words, have the garbage bill every other month along with the water bill every other month.
Yeah, they'll be paying 2 months for that one.
I'm saying every other month. The garbage
And
bill
they'll
every
pay
other month, the water bill.
2 months at one time, yeah. And that way, even with the reconciliations, somebody needs to look at the invoices that Republic is sending to us and reconcile those invoices with what we actually billing from residents, because they owe us money. And somebody needs to look into where they're getting that,
We actually owe them money.
well,
They don't know what's been. As I stated before, the garbage bill was increased, but it wasn't increased on the bill.
from November 2015 to September 2016, they owe us $22,000. This year,
I don't understand where that's coming from.
it comes from the supporting documents that I was
I
provided.
don't see it on here.
I didn't give you the supporting documents, I just recommended the spreadsheet.
Oh, you didn't give me the support document?
No.
Oh. Okay. Anybody else has any questions?
The number of, from October 2016 to September 2017, and we pay exactly what they sent in here. So we have no way of knowing, well, we do have a way of knowing because they have not adjusted any of those bills, and we haven't adjusted any of the invoices, the billing that we turn. Whatever they send in is what we pay. And we have never had 2,695 houses at any month. So that has to be looked into. You got a question there?
Actually, I had a comment. You were saying that we never pay Republic for the people that don't pay and have late fees
Yes.
with their water bills. Republic is still getting their money because they're just billing us based off of the number of homes. Republic doesn't know who pays their bill and who doesn't, nor do they care, because they're just billing off the number of homes, so they're getting their money. It's whether or not we're getting our money to recoup what we've already paid to them. And it's a matter of making sure that whoever's at the front desk when payments are coming through is booking that money into the right general ledger when the residents are paying those bills. And making sure that it's getting applied appropriately at the point that that money is being taken in as a credit to us. So yes, Republic's getting their money. To your point about the reconciliation, are they charging us for more homes than they should be? I don't know. I'm not part of that conversation that the mayor was referring to, but they are getting their money.
I didn't say they weren't getting their money. Yes, they get more money than they're supposed to. That's what I said. The bottom line is, Mr. Mayor, that this has to be looked into more closely, that Republican is billing us for 2,695 homes. When we would send them information every month saying that we don't have that many homes. And what we did is have somebody sit down and take a closer look at what they owe us. And as far as I know, from 2015, November 2015 to September 2016, they owe us $22,000. This does not have anything to do with that $389,000. This year alone, from October to September 2017, we paid them whatever they sent in. We don't adjust there's no adjustment or anything to the invoice. So therefore, there's no way for us to tell, trustees, with the information that's given to me, if any adjustment was made. And the invoices that I have show no adjustments, and we paid whatever they sent in. And that's how we got to where we are. And unless we do something about the situation, we're gonna be paying them more than what they should be getting. Any questions?
Well, I just have mine.
Yes.
My question is, you quoted a number of hours.
Yes.
Someone is physically gonna have to go out and actually count vacant homes and vacant up, so we can actually come up with an accurate number.
Well, we have that.
You're predicting and they're predicting also.
No,
so we don't really have a physical
Wait a minute.
number.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. I'm very sorry. Okay. The number of houses, when I should say that, is the number of users. We go by the number of users for the water bill. That information was not given to me. I only go by, that's, I've been saying for the last year. And whatever, I don't know how Republic came up with the 2,695 houses. I don't know if it's a gentleman's agreement or whatever.
It may be accurate. It may be accurate. So we don't know.
It's impossible.
And the other thing is that if you divide that deal, you're only going to create a double problem for the people that's make the end and not the end. That's what's going to happen with that, because of the fact that if they're having trouble in the beginning, you can imagine what's going to happen when you dichotomize how to cut that up until it's
Okay. Well,
But somebody needs to go out and count houses so we can actually know exactly what we're talking about. Because you're predicting one number and they're predicting another number, and you got numbers here that we argue about, and we don't have any facts for it.
Well, I'm basing my information on the supporting documents that I have and that was given to me.
Well, we haven't seen that yet. See,
okay.
When you talk about a basis and a foundation for what we're talking about, we're talking about a basis and a foundation, that's facts. We can't just sit here and argue about what we think. We have to know exactly what we're talking about, especially when you say they owe us money, we owe them money. And we've been overspending money. If we've been doing that, then we got to have a basis for it and a fact gathering for it. That's what we got to have.
Well,
We just can't go by what people say.
Trustee Carter,
Yes, ma'am.
based on the documents that I have, we get invoices that.
But you keep saying based on the documents that you have. She doesn't have a copy, I don't have a copy, no one has a copy of what you're talking about. That's the whole point. Physically, someone has to go out and actually count houses. I'm an old soldier. To answer that question, you can go out and actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what you got to do. If you want to question what they're saying they're doing, and if we want to question what they say they're doing, we got to do that, man. I'm serious. Because that's how you gather facts, basis and foundation for any argument.
Well, I agree with you, trustee Carter, but based on the information given to me, for all these invoices from November 2015 to September 2017, the documents show that we had 2,695 houses. I got some information before for you that shows the number from 2015 to 2016 are the actual numbers that we billed. These, I have actual documents for that, okay? So based on the information that was given to me, that's why I came up with the solution to what was given. So I can't dispute what was given to me. These are actual documents that we paid Republic, and there was no adjustments to the invoices whatsoever. These are actual documents that Sauk Village paid for garbage bills. So therefore, in fact, I'm not arguing about anything. I'm telling you what I have.
Your statement is that that's not correct. So in order for us to find out what's correct, you gotta give us more information than what we're talking about.
Well, you know what? I've been asking that for a whole year.
It's not a matter of asking, it's not a matter of asking, somebody needs to go out and count some houses. If that's the problem.
But the garbage bills are based on the number of water users. So that's how you get the invoices. That's how we come up with the figures. Okay? I mean, okay, so you're saying, okay. Nobody's gonna-
Is that
Any other
it?
questions?
Is that it?
No?
Okay. That was just discussion.
That was just discussion.
Number 6, excuse me, public comment. All questions and comments should be directed to the mayor. Excuse me, each speaker may be an opportunity to speak pertaining to any business of the Sauk Village. Each speaker is allowed one opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes and may not engage in debate or counter discussion. Please state your name.
Judy Gastier. Judy Gastier. We've been informed that the treasurer is the one that's working on the budget or doing whatever with the budget. And she definitely knows how to transfer funds. This budget has so many holes in it, it needs to be started again. And to start with the budget, and you're talking about saving money, and you're giving the trustees only 100 pages a month for copying and that kind of thing, I don't understand why a draft copy of the budget was done in color. 87 pages. Not only that, but when the second draft came out, that too was done in color. And to make it even worse, when you asked for what are the changes, we could have been given just a few pages, but we were given another 87 pages. So look at all the paper you wasted. According to the budget, administration increased $411,723, which places the administration at $1,962,339. You argued, you screamed, you carried on when you were a trustee about things we didn't need. We didn't need J.W. Thurman. We didn't need all these excess things. And yet, if you got rid of what you brought into the village that we don't need that HR lady, we don't need that treasurer. Look at all the money that we could save. The budget draft showed 14 police officers. The second draft showed 13, with a savings of $60,000. Who's the officer that's getting stabbed in the back and thrown under the bus? And why are they docking from $30,000 for maintenance down to $17,000? Maintenance is a big issue. Our police department, according to the figures that I have, is the only department that's getting raped. And it's not right. We have safety in numbers, and you want to decrease our numbers, but you want to increase the administration.
That couch. I'd like to know where, I guess I should say Dr. Strouder got her doctorate degree, and what school did she attend to get so-called doctorate degree? Is she licensed and bonded in the state of Illinois and Cook County? How many contracts has she successfully negotiated and for whom? And was there a background check done on this individual? That's all I have.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Background check, yes. I don't have their school that she got her doctorate from in front of me because I don't have a resume in front of me. And what was the other question? There was a third question.
Is she bonded and licensed in the state of Illinois and Cook County?
Bonded for, no, you asked about what other contracts.
How many contracts has she
I don't know how
successfully
many.
negotiated and for whom?
SEIU Local 1.
Is that all?
That's the only one I knew of.
And we have her doing our negotiations for our
Do you know
police?
who SEIU is?
No, I don't.
Okay. No.
What is it?
SEIU is the largest union in the state of Illinois.
And it was a successfully negotiated contract?
I mean, I just know she negotiated. I didn't.
You know she negotiated, but
Yes,
don't
I
know
did not
if
get
it was
into
successful.
all of that, no ma'am.
Jan Clark. I would like to know, does everyone residential in town pay the same garbage bill? Are we all charged the same?
Garbage bill?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so my
Every
garbage,
resident, yes,
my
every
garbage
resident.
section would, of monies owed every 2 months, would be 8 times the same number for the amount of pickups. Okay, 1 week, what, 20 bucks, 10 bucks? Second week, okay, 1 month, 40 bucks? I don't know.
It's charged so much each month. I'm trying to think. I think it's 20. I think it went up, so I think it's like 40. So it's like $21 a month,
Okay,
or $20 a month, some change.
okay, so 40 bucks. All right, now it was recommended by someone who knows by whom, because the person didn't come up to the meeting and stand like I'm standing, asking their own questions. They had Bernice ask questions. But anyway, what if instead of putting a whole separate bill out there, I mean, your water bill is one little page. There's lines that distinguish how much money you're paying for sewage, how much money you're paying for water and garbage. Can't they, if it's so important, this 45, 50 bucks every 2 months, that they know how much of it is garbage, why don't they just add the line? okay, this is how much you owe for water, this is how much you owe for sewage, here's one bill, garbage. You know, it's a big deal. You still have to pay it. You still cannot have your garbage picked up if you don't pay your water bill. Nothing is changed. Just add a line. Okay, and another thing that concerns me is the way that when Joe had suggestions that are now going to be tabled, you made the comment, it just came up today. Now, why couldn't that have been number 4? Number 4 was skipped over. That's all.
I just found out today from the lawyers that we had to have a resolution. And so,
It's better than to do that.
no, it wasn't him, that was the lawyers. The lawyers, I've been trying to do this for quite a while now, and they just told me that I needed to have a resolution passed by the board. And I thought everything was taken care of, but it wasn't, obviously. So I just wanted the material to be passed out tonight for that. And that's all there was. Not to talk about it, not to even discuss it, just passed out. So now what we're going to do is have a meeting Friday to go over this. Thank you. Name?
Excuse me, my name is Renee Richardson. Okay, what I wanted to ask you, was Sherry's situation cleaned up? She gone? Is that it? Is that all? Okay, good answer that. As far as the taxes is concerned, do we still owe the tax people money for the houses? We got money from them, we used that money, we have to pay it back. How much do we owe left on the tax situation? Did anybody hear that? No. Okay, we got money from each house. The tax people sent us money. We owe them back money. Is all that paid up?
Oh.
The overpaid the taxes from 2012.
The agent report, can there be an update date on that? The garbage. We have a problem with the garbage bill. Why isn't everybody, you know how much the garbage bill is a month. I think that you all, every 2 months, y'all know what the garbage bill would be, right? Am I right? So why can't we divide that by the houses that we have that's paying garbage bill, and everybody pay a flat rate? Instead of every month or every 2 months, you get a different bill for your garbage. That you do. When you look at your garbage, when you look at your bill, there's a different price. Sometimes it might be 30, sometimes it be 39. Why can't it just be one flat rate for garbage? To pay the bills so we can keep them paid each month. We wouldn't have to keep going through this. If we know what it is, why can't we divide it for each household? Is that over? Do we have any money left in it? And how much? Is Miss, I don't really know the lady. I haven't never met her, never seen her. Is Dr. Strotter still working on the police union stuff? Are you sitting there with her to understand really what's going on?
We're trying to answer some of these questions. Garbage rate, saying it's not like water. So if your bill goes up, it's because of water. The garbage rate, unless it's every year. Every year your bill is going to go up 3% on the garbage rate itself. Every year for the next 13 years. So if you saw a change, it's probably at that time when the garbage rate went up. As far as the tax That was, I'm guessing you're referring to the overpayment that was given to us years ago, that I just found out about that we weren't paying. Yes, we're paying $25,000 every quarter until we pay back that overpayment that was given to us 2 or 3 years ago. As far as the police negotiations, no, I'm not there. I'm not going to be involved in the negotiations until I bring it back and the board gets an update. The board has had an update already, and they will continue to get updates until that particular process is over with. Right now, it's in mediation. It may go to arbitration. I don't know. But no, I'm not sitting there while they're doing the negotiations. I don't think I need to be there because they haven't ironed anything out. Are we going to have to borrow from the water fund? I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did and tell you that I won't, but only thing I can tell you is I'm hoping that we don't have to. That's all I can tell you. I can't tell you whether or not we can or will not borrow from the water fund. As far as the agent report, the trustees can get a copy of that at any time they want to. It's just a matter of going in and asking to have it ran off. Is it published? I'm sure at some point it will be, and that's not a problem. I can have that published also. That's it. Yes, ma'am.
Rachel Lupian. I know I'm a couple weeks late on it, but it was just brought to my attention, the letter that you all gave to Sherry. I know that I'm not a trustee or a mayor or somebody who writes for the mayor, but I know enough to know that that was the most unprofessional letter I'd ever seen in my life. When it comes to a woman who has worked here for 20 years because she helped somebody with some stamping, it sounds very personal, and you have it against her. Not you all don't work well together. That has nothing to do with Miss Sherry, who has worked here 20 years. I respectfully came to your office that morning to respectfully talk to you, but I can't because nobody can talk to you unless Mary Clark lets them. So I tried to get with you. I tried to speak with you privately about it because I have this problem with it. 20 years and you want to get rid of her because you don't like her and she helped her? That's ridiculous. And that's very unprofessional. You are a mayor to everybody here. You're not just a mayor to who you choose to be a mayor to. And that includes Sherry, who's worked here for 20 years. Her parents, her mother has worked here. You're mad at her, at Miss Sherry, because she helped your trustee? You don't have, your trustee is trying to help you. You all should be working together. So you're gonna fire someone because of a trustee whom you should be helping as well. And I'm pretty sure you shouldn't have a car, should you? But you do, and that's okay. When the police officer should have a car, but you got it. Now you got your supervisor driving around in a car that doesn't even work. Your supervisor, Becky and Jack, drive around in a car that has no siren, breaks down all the time.
1 minute.
But you get to drive around in a brand new car that we pay for. We're taxpayers. So can I get a ride? Can I go to the store and get a ride? Can I call you for a ride? This is ridiculous. And it's not okay. And you know what? This is the best I've ever sounded because this is the heatest I've ever been. And I've really looked into this. This is not fair. You need to be helping your trustees and not going against each other all the time. And how dare you fire someone for 20 years? Thank you. And let's see after that. This is ridiculous. You're a mayor. You're not a dictator.
Heidi Parker. My question is, do we still have a housing commission? If we do not, why is it still on the website? It has been a year since you've been in office. Do we have a housing committee? If we want to know how many houses there are, is there a housing committee to work on that? And as far as the letter that's on the Facebook, terminating or suspending Sherry, if Ms. Strada composed that, it's very poor. not professional.
My name is Linda Washington, and I'm here today on behalf of Sauk Village for Informative Dialogue members. And our concern today is, number one, we have really tried to understand why this administration, the mayor and his staff, are belittling, harassing, intimidating, and just tearing down the employees, the trustees. It's a bad morale in this village hall to even work here. It's described as coming to hell every day when you come to work, because you never know if you're going to get fired because somebody that likes the mayor or that works with the mayor don't like you. It can just terminate you and let your job go. That's ridiculous to work in. And I'm going to let you know, at the end of the day, you got a God to answer to. You can laugh and talk behind closed doors. You can say whatever you want to say, but I promise you, everything that's whispered in the dark, it is going to come out in the light. And you can treat people poorly and treat them any kind of way and think that it's funny and think that when you have people's livelihood at your hand, your beck and call, until your last day on this earth is here, you don't know where your future is going to take you. And you better think about what you do to people, because you're going to reap what you sow. And I know you all don't like me because I ran for mayor, and it's a travesty that even after the election, because I ran, I cannot talk to the mayor. I've been coming to your office for a year and a half to talk to you, and you refuse to talk to me. I have some great ideas in this village. I have some wonderful programs for youth and for seniors, but you refuse to talk to me because I ran against you? That is asinine. At the end of the day, we should be able to put our differences to the side as a whole village and work together. And what you're doing to these businesses, I go in these businesses, I go on these blocks, I talk to these neighbors, and they don't feel safe in this community. Whatever public safety is doing, the residents have no knowledge of it. So the unsanctioned neighborhood watch, we're going to collaborate and get our own selves together, because we know how to watch this community along with the housing commission, along with the fire department, the police department. We've done it successfully for 6 years with over 41 block club gatherings. And so we're going to reconvene, and we're going to put our blocks back together the way that they used to be. And it's just sad that we don't have the backing of the mayor or the board to do that. The way you all talk to each other, Sauk Village is the laughing stock of the south suburbs. Everybody laughs at this village. They watch these videos up on YouTube every single week when you do all of these meetings. The next day when you upload them, they watch them and they just sit back and laugh and shake their heads. You will never, most of you, ever govern any level higher than this legislation right here in this village, because no other board on no other level even wants you on there to be a part of it. You don't know how to work together. You don't even know how to talk to each other. Somebody got to come ask the mayor, can I make a copy? Really? They got to ask the mayor. He should be so busy bringing economic development and jobs and getting programs for the youth. I don't care if you make the copies, if it's stuff for the village. I made 1,000 copies for Neighborhood Watch. Rosie made it when she was doing her committees. Ed Myers made it for ordinance. Why you got to watch these people like they're little children? We elected them to watch you.
Time. Thank you.
Bernadine Hopkins. No, don't listen to me. Okay. Can you hear me now? No. Yes, you can. Anyway, my name is Bernadine Hopkins. This has been an ongoing issue for me. When you have people come up and present opportunities, or whatever you want to call it, to you all, I guess what I'm trying to say, the different proposals where people come up, I noticed that they turn their backs to us. Okay, we will be the ones that will be frequenting that business and so on and so forth. It's almost as though you all are showing them that what we feel doesn't matter. They don't even have to address us. I have a problem with that, so I was wondering if you could consider maybe having people to address everyone in the room, maybe stand in a position where they're facing us, and maybe at some time,
if not personally, maybe through you all, we can send some questions that we may have regarding various businesses or whatever else that you may have coming in here where we live. So, the other thing was this. I got a problem with what was going on with Trustee Grant. I can't say that I understand the paper that he was presenting, but I did notice that there were areas where he was proposing something on behalf of the treasurer, meaning I believe it was stated that that document would offer the treasurer certain authorities without the consent of the board. Where I'm going with this is this. Why would Trustee Grant be presenting anything on behalf of the trustee? Does protocol call for it to go that way? Or should the trustee be here proposing these various ideas herself? Or himself, or treasurer, whatever you want to call it. So that's where that goes with that. And I think that's all I'm going to say.
When presenters come, they're presenting to the board. It's a shame that they can't sit here and do that, so they're talking to the board. But that's the reason why we have microphones. So as everyone keeps telling them, please speak up, that's what the microphones are for. As far as turning around, they're talking to the board because they're presenting their ideas or what it is that they're doing to the board for consideration. And that's what you elected officials to do, is to vote in your stead. So, but you're able to hear everything they say just like you're able to do it now. So, and this has not just started. This has been like this since board meetings and committee meetings. Now at the board meetings, there are very few presenters. We have our department heads, they give reports. But at the committee meetings is when we talk to people that probably want to do business in the village or give us an update on what they're doing in the village. And they're presenting their report to the board. That's why they're faced this way. It's always been that way since they've been in this building. The other building, it was basically the same way. It wasn't quite this big, but it was always had a table because the trustees didn't come down on the floor like this at the other building. They still stayed up on the diocese. So that's why they're facing the board, because they're actually talking to the board. And then at the appropriate time at the end of the meeting, I try to, if there's going to be a presenter here, to make sure that that presenter stays here. So if there's any questions, that's why we have question and comments at the end of the committee meeting, so that you may have a question or a comment about someone that just presented something. Thank you. Pardon me, I thought you said you were...
No, we want Trustee Grant, with him presenting those issues for the treasurer or whoever.
Okay, right now, I'm sure Trustee Grant is going to stick around after the meeting, and if you have some more questions, feel free to ask Trustee Grant about them. So he was just presenting a financial plan that he's been working on for 5 or 6 months. So he's just giving an update to the board. But if you have some questions in regard to that, please see Trustee Grant after the meeting. Thank you.
Trustee Brewer, Mr. Mayor, June 1st was that Saturday or something? So can I get the whole book off the copy machine so I can make my 100 copies for the month of June?
You got up there to ask me that?
Well, I mean, that's...
I'm just asking. You got up there to ask me that?
That and other questions I would like to answer to. Second thing is that why isn't the comment section from trustees included in the agenda anymore? The third thing is that the residents on the south side were getting water bills. Why weren't the trustees notified that there was an issue? I think the issue was started on Friday. How come the trustees didn't call or email letting us know what was going on? And also to answer Trustee Carter's questions that you we've been here, a couple weeks, but I have been asking for documents since the beginning of time, since I've been here. I asked for them verbally, then I go and write a memo form, never got the information, so I had to go and get a FOIA request. Therefore, a lot of times I send it for you, never get an answer to it. So I had to go with the documents I have. I'm not trying to give anybody a hard time, I'm just trying to get some information out to the people. And just like I was relegated to 100 copies, I was over the senior center for a while. We had 5 different entities down there. We used more paper than most of the other committee members. And I need more paper to send out to the residents. Now, the letter that was sent out related to the residents in the village had nothing personal in there except for my name and my phone. Okay? So if I can't send out things via post office, via phone call, via text message, via email, something is wrong. For some reason, they don't want trustees to communicate with residents, and that's the bottom line to it. We have all these avenues to talk to residents. We should be able to use them. There's no way, and the mayor has not talked to me about that situation yet. There's no way that we were elected officials, just like the mayor, we should be able to use government input. Yes or no?
Okay, just FYI, next Tuesday, there will be a budget hearing. So we will go over the budget, trustees and myself, and along with the ones that helped compile to be the finance director, we'll be discussing the budget next Tuesday. It'll be a budget hearing. The board meeting will not be that Tuesday because I think this is going to be a while. So next Wednesday will be the scheduled board meeting to vote on the budget. Contrary to what people feel, this is, the budget will be voted on next Wednesday. And it is not thing that we take lightly, so it's going to, I'm sure everyone has had a chance. We can't vote on it before next Tuesday because it has to be disseminated and has been disseminated for a month. That being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It was moved by trustee Brewer, second by trustee Todd. All in favor? Motion carried.